What if every illness were merely a whisper from the soul asking for reconnection with the divine? There exists a truth that modern medicine, with all its brilliant technology and colorful pills, has still not fully understood. Your body doesn't fall ill by chance, nor by bad luck, nor by defective genes that you inherited and against which you can do nothing. Your body falls ill when the spirit forgets its luminous origin, when you live disconnected from the infinite source of vital energy that has always been available, when toxic thoughts and repressed emotions block the natural flow of healing that should constantly course through every cell. There is a force within you, invisible to the eyes, silent to the ears, but more real than any medicine, capable of restoring every organ, every tissue, every molecule to its original harmony. What you are about to discover is not philosophical theory distant from practical reality. It is knowledge that has healed the blind, that has raised paralytics, that has restored those given up by doctors in every epoch of human history. Paramahansa Yogananda taught throughout his entire life. Health is man's natural state. Disease is merely the shadow of spiritual ignorance. Today we will penetrate the profound mysteries of divine healing, that sacred territory where faith transforms into science, where the energy of love becomes medicine more powerful than any synthetic chemical, where awakened consciousness reveals itself as the true physician that has dwelt within you since always. But here is what few dare to consider. Perhaps you don't need more diagnoses, more tests, more external treatments. Perhaps you just need to awaken the healer who has always been asleep within you. Disease is a symbolic language that your body uses when all other forms of communication have failed. It is not an enemy to be fought with pharmacological violence, but a messenger to be heard with profound respect. Your body is constantly speaking what your heart has silenced, physically manifesting that which you refused to process emotionally or spiritually. Every thought in harmony with love creates waves of vitality that bathe your cells in regenerative energy. Every chronic fear, every unreleased anger, every repressed sadness generates energetic blockages that eventually solidify into physical symptoms. Think of your mind as the invisible architect of your body. It draws every day the blueprint for health or disease that will manifest months or years ahead. When you sustain thoughts of vitality, when you affirm, "I am health, I am strength, I am light," you are sending clear instructions to trillions of cells that obey faithfully. But when you live mentally repeating, "I always get sick at this time of year," "My whole family has this problem, I'll never get better," you are literally programming your body to materialize exactly those expectations. The mind doesn't distinguish reality from repeated imagination. It simply obeys the dominant pattern. Jesus healed by saying, "Your faith has saved you," not "My magic has healed you." Buddha liberated from suffering through the awakened mind, not through external rituals. Both revealed the same fundamental principle. Healing begins in consciousness, not in the doctor's office. Once upon a time, there was a man with chronic ulcers who consulted 10 different doctors, took 20 medicines, had 3 surgeries. Nothing worked. The ulcer always returned. Until a healer asked him something no doctor had asked. What are you swallowing in life that you cannot digest? What situation are you accepting externally but rejecting internally? The man began to cry and confessed. He had been for years in a job he hated, a marriage that didn't work, a life that wasn't his. When he finally had the courage to make external changes that reflected his internal truth, the ulcer disappeared in weeks without any additional medicine. Begin today the practice of conscious healing through the mind. In the morning, before even fully opening your eyes, place your hands over your heart and declare with serene conviction, "I am perfect health. Every cell of my body vibrates in divine harmony. I align myself now with the healing force that created universes and that dwells within me." Repeat this not mechanically, but feeling each word as truth that is awakening in you. During the day, when symptoms appear, instead of entering into panic or total identification, breathe and ask, "What are you trying to tell me? My body? What internal imbalance is manifesting here?" Listen, the answer will come, perhaps not in words, but in sudden understanding. The true remedy doesn't come from outside. It awakens from within, like a seed that, touched by the sun of consciousness, finally germinates into complete healing. Every illness brings with it a karmic lesson that needs to be learned so that healing may be permanent and not just temporary relief of symptoms. Not as punishment from a cruel God who castigates you for obscure sins, but as an educational instrument of a supreme intelligence that loves you enough to teach you through experience what words could never transmit. Disease forces you to learn balance when you lived in imbalance, teaches you detachment when you were too attached to the body or to material things, trains you in compassion when you harshly judge the sick before becoming one yourself. When the soul resists the lessons that life offers gently through circumstances, the body manifests this resistance in more forceful physical form. Karma is not inflexible destiny carved in stone. It is energy in motion, seeking resolution and understanding. It translates into physical symptoms precisely to call your attention, to force you to stop and look within, to finally learn what you have been avoiding learning through gentler paths. When you finally accept the lesson, when you deeply understand what that experience came to teach, karma dissolves. The blocked energy returns to its original flow, and what we call spontaneous healing happens naturally. There was a woman with severe arthritis in her hands, slowly deforming them over the years. Doctors said it was an irreversible process, until in a deep session of self-investigation, she had a devastating insight. She recognized that she had spent her entire life trying to control everything and everyone around her, children, husband, employees, every detail of life. Her hands, instruments of this obsessive control, literally closed and stiffened, physically manifesting her psychological pattern. When she understood this, when she began the painful but necessary work of releasing control and trusting in life's flow, something extraordinary happened. The arthritis began to regress. In 2 years, her hands recovered 70% of the mobility that doctors swore was lost forever. It wasn't an inexplicable miracle. It was karma dissolving through understanding. Practice conscious dialogue with your disease. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and mentally ask your illness, "What have you come to teach me? What aspect of my consciousness needs to transform so that you are no longer necessary?" Don't force answers, just create the receptive space and allow insights to emerge, perhaps today, perhaps next week, perhaps in a revealing dream. When understanding arrives, it will be unmistakable, accompanied by a profound sensation of recognition. Yes, that's it. It has always been this. And in that moment of genuine understanding, you don't just understand intellectually, you transform. The transformation of consciousness is the only remedy that heals the cause, not just the symptom. Healing is neither punishment nor miracle. It is divine justice in motion, purifying the soul through loving understanding of what needed to be learned. Your body is the most honest mirror you will ever encounter. It doesn't lie, doesn't dissemble, doesn't hide anything. It reflects with absolute precision the interior state of your consciousness, translating into physical language that which happens at the invisible levels of mind, emotion, and spirit. Chronic anger becomes muscular tension that hardens shoulders and jaw. Uncried sadness deposits itself as oppressive weight in the chest, eventually affecting heart and lungs. Constant fear weakens vital organs, especially kidneys and digestive system. Every emotional pattern has specific physical correspondence. Because body and soul are not separate, they are different aspects of the same reality. Visualize your body as a crystalline river that must flow freely from source to ocean. When you live in harmony with your inner truth, when you express emotions healthily, When you think thoughts aligned with love and purpose, the river flows pure and vigorous. But every repressed emotion is like a rock thrown into the riverbed. Every toxic thought is like a branch that crosses, blocking the passage. Accumulate enough rocks and branches, and eventually the river stops flowing. Water stagnates, rots, becomes a fetid swamp. This internal swamp manifests as physical disease that no medicine can cure permanently while the blockages are not removed. A man suffered from chronic back pain that incapacitated him for work, physical therapy, chiropractic, anti-inflammatories, surgery. Nothing worked. The pain always returned, until in a session of deep body work, when the therapist touched a specific point on his back, the man began to sob uncontrollably. Repressed memories emerged, years of feeling that he carried the world on his back, responsible for supporting the entire family since adolescence. Never allowing himself to rest or ask for help, his back literally manifested the invisible emotional burden he had carried for decades. When he finally cried those damned tears, when he allowed himself to feel and release that weight, when he learned to ask for help and share responsibilities, the pains disappeared, not gradually, but within weeks. The body merely reflected the soul. Heal the heart, and the body renews itself like a river that flows freely again after the rocks are removed. Establish a daily practice of emotional body scanning. Lie down comfortably, close your eyes, breathe deeply. Then bring attention to each part of the body, starting with the feet. Where do you feel tension? Where do you feel pain? Where do you feel numbness or disconnection? Upon identifying these areas, ask gently, what emotion are you holding? What feeling have I not allowed to be expressed? And then, consciously, breathe into that tense region, visualizing that you are sending compassion, acceptance, permission for that emotion to finally be felt and released. It may come as crying, it may come as trembling, it may come as a deep sigh. Allow it. Don't judge. Let the body teach the mind what the mind refused to recognize. Profound self-knowledge is the true scalpel of the soul. It cuts the illusion of separation between body and spirit and reveals the perfectly healthy self that has always existed behind all the layers of accumulated suffering. Every authentic spiritual tradition, independent of epoch or geography, has arrived at the same fundamental conclusion about healing. There is an intelligent, loving, and infinite force that permeates all creation, and that is the true source of all vitality. In Vedic Hinduism, they call this force prana, the vital energy that animates from the ant to the galaxy. In Tibetan Buddhism, they recognize that mind creates form, and therefore mental transformation precedes physical transformation. In mystical Christianity, they speak of the Holy Spirit as God's healing breath that renews all things when we allow Him to enter. The names change, the cultures differ, but the principle remains identical: God, Tao, Brahman, cosmic consciousness. It is this presence that truly heals, not the pills, not the doctors, not the procedures. These may be useful instruments, channels through which healing flows, but the ultimate source is always the divine energy that sustains existence itself. When you pray with genuine faith, when you meditate reaching profound quietude, when you love unconditionally, you consciously reconnect with this divine current that has always been flowing, and it floods your being like light in blood and peace in mind, reorganizing at the cellular level everything that was disorganized. There was a brilliant doctor who healed hundreds of patients, but couldn't heal himself from the profound depression that tormented him for years. He tried his own medicine, various therapies. Nothing worked. Until on a trip to India, he met an elderly sage who told him something simple but devastating. "Doctor, you have forgotten that it is not you who heals. You are merely a channel. Life is what heals through you." But how can it flow through a channel that doesn't believe in it, that judges itself separate from it, that lives only in the mind and has completely forgotten the heart. Those words broke something in the doctor. He began to meditate, to cultivate inner silence, to reconnect with the sacred dimension he had abandoned upon entering medical school. And as he reconnected, as he allowed that healing presence to first touch his own soul, his depression dissolved, not because he treated himself, but because he surrendered to that which is greater. Practice daily conscious reconnection with the source of all healing. In the morning, before picking up your phone or starting any activity, sit in silence for 10 minutes. Breathe deeply. And mentally, or in a low voice, invoke divine energy of life, healing presence that animates all that exists. Flow through me now. Unblock the blocked channels. Restore what is unbalanced. Remind me that I am not this sick body. I am eternal spirit temporarily inhabiting form. Use this body as your instrument to express perfect health. Not as a mechanical magic formula, but as a sincere prayer of reconnection. The materialistic vision treats only superficial symptoms. The spiritual vision awakens the inner power of self-healing that is your divine birthright. There exists a direct bridge between the invisible and the visible, between spirit and matter, between God and body. This bridge is the breath. Each inhalation brings not only chemical oxygen to your lungs, it brings prana, vital energy, divine force that feeds not only physical cells, but also their invisible, subtle counterparts. Each exhalation doesn't just expel carbon dioxide, it releases accumulated tensions, toxic emotions, energetic patterns that no longer serve. Conscious breathing is the most powerful and most accessible healing tool you possess. The specific practice I share now has been taught by yoga masters for millennia and remains as effective today as it was 5,000 years ago. It requires no equipment, costs nothing, has no contraindication. It only requires your total presence and clear intention. When practiced daily, even for just a few minutes, this technique literally reprograms your energetic system, removes blockages, restores natural flow of vitality, and creates ideal internal conditions for spontaneous healing to happen. A man with advanced stage cancer, given up by doctors, was advised by a friend to seek out a yoga teacher. Skeptical but desperate, he went. The teacher didn't promise miraculous healing. He taught only daily conscious breathing, visualization of healing light, and profound surrender to the divine. The man practiced religiously 3 times a day, every day, for months. Not because he completely believed, but because he had nothing to lose. 6 months later, in follow-up exams, doctors were shocked. The tumor had regressed dramatically. A year later, without any conventional treatment beyond breathing and meditation, the cancer had completely disappeared. Miracle? No, spiritual law in action. When you remove energetic blockages and allow the innate healing force to flow freely, the body does what it has always known how to do: heal itself. Practice right now, while listening, the complete protocol of healing breath. First, find a comfortable sitting position, spine erect but not rigid, hands resting relaxed on the thighs or in prayer at the heart. Close your eyes or keep them half open, focusing on a fixed point ahead. Breathe naturally for a few cycles, just observing the rhythm. Then begin. Inhale slowly through the nose, counting to 6. As you inhale, visualize golden light, radiant, warm and loving, entering through the top of your head. Feel this light descending like a luminous river through the brain, passing through the face, neck, shoulders. Hold the breath for a count of 3, allowing the light to fully establish itself. Feel it descending to the heart, expanding there like a sun rising within the chest, flooding all the thorax with gentle warmth. Then exhale slowly through the mouth or nose, counting to 8. As you exhale, visualize and feel your body releasing all shadow, all tension, all fear, all disease, exiting like dark smoke that immediately dissolves into infinite space. Repeat this cycle for at least 10 times, preferably 20. With each cycle, repeat mentally with growing conviction: I am one with the divine energy of life. I am light in every cell. I am perfect health manifesting now. Here is the secret that enlightened masters know, but that the common mind struggles to accept. The soul was never sick, never. Not for 1 second in all eternity. The soul, being direct emanation of absolute perfection, remains eternally immaculate, untouched by any physical or mental imperfection. What falls ill is only the temporary body and the mind identified with that body. But your true self, that eternal consciousness that observes body and mind, but is neither one nor the other, that essence remains in a state of perfect health forever. Therefore, true healing doesn't happen when you receive something external that fixes you. It happens when you finally remember what you have always been. Eternal spirit, immaculate, full of divine life. Disease is a disturbing dream. Healing is the awakening from this dream of limitation and separation. While you believe, I am this body, and this body is sick, and there is no hope, you keep active the programming of disease. But in the moment you awaken to, I am not this body, I am the eternal consciousness that temporarily inhabits this form, and this consciousness is pure health. Something fundamental transforms at the causal level, and the effect inevitably manifests at the physical level. Jesus told the healed, "Go and sin no more," not in the moralistic sense, but in the sense of, don't return to the spiritual ignorance of identifying yourself only with the body, of seeing yourself as separate from God, of living disconnected from your true nature, because those who return to ignorance also return to disease. A leper healed by a saint asked, "Master, how can I ensure that leprosy never returns?" The saint responded, "Remember every day, especially when your mind tries to convince you that you are weak, limited, mortal. I am child of eternal light. I am made of the same substance that created stars. No disease can touch who I truly am." When you remember this, not just with your mind, but with every cell of your being, leprosy will not dare approach, because it will find not a vulnerable host, but awakened consciousness that knows its spiritual invincibility. Establish a daily practice of remembering your true nature. Upon waking, even before identifying yourself again with name, story, problems, and body, remain for a few moments in the pure consciousness of simply existing. Feel that you are before defining who you are. In that state, without name, without form, without story, you touch your real essence. Then, consciously affirm, I am eternal consciousness. This body is my temporary temple, but I am not this body. This mind is my tool, but I am not this mind. I am the immortal presence that observes both. And this presence was never born, will never fall ill, will never die. When you awaken to the being beyond the body naturally follows, because form always follows consciousness. And what you call a miracle of healing is just the natural manifestation of who you have always been beyond the illusion of separation and limitation. Spiritual wisdom that doesn't translate into daily life is like a seed that never finds soil to germinate. So, how to live as a conscious channel of divine healing in the midst of practical demands, real challenges, constant temptations to return to the old patterns of identification with disease and limitation. First fundamental practice, speak words of light, because words shape energy around you in ways you don't imagine. Every word that comes out of your mouth carries vibration that impacts not only those who listen, but especially yourself. Immediately, stop saying phrases like, I always catch the flu at this time of year, my whole family has heart problems, I can never heal completely. These declarations are self-fulfilling spells that program your body to obey. Replace with, my immune system is strong and efficient. I inherit only perfect health from the divine source. My body possesses natural capacity for complete healing, not as empty affirmation of one who lies to oneself, but as recognition of true potential that was asleep. Second essential practice, cultivate profound gratitude for the body, especially in the midst of pain. This seems paradoxical, but it is extremely powerful. When you curse your body for being sick, when you live in internal war against organs that function poorly, when you see yourself as victim of a defective body, you are sending messages of rejection that aggravate the imbalance. But when you learn to give thanks, thank you, body, for working tirelessly to heal me even when I neglect you. Thank you, immune system, for fighting every day against millions of invaders. Thank you, heart, for beating without rest, sustaining my life. This genuine gratitude literally reprograms your cells. Scientific studies have already proven gratitude alters body chemistry, strengthens immunity, accelerates recovery. It's not superficial positive thinking. It's real vibrational medicine. Third transformative practice. Feed yourself with reverent consciousness, not with mechanical anxiety. Every meal can be a sacred ritual, or it can be a lost moment. Before eating, pause for 3 seconds. Look at the food. Give thanks not just for having food, but recognize that it was life, plant, animal, living being that delivered its energy to sustain yours. Eat slowly, chewing completely, present to the taste, the texture, the gratitude. Your body digests much better when you eat in a state of peace than when you eat in a state of rush or stress. And carry the same consciousness to breathing. Breathe as one who receives a sacred gift, not automatically. And to love intensely all who cross your path, because each genuine act of love is spiritual transfusion of healing energy that benefits both the one who loves and the one who is loved. Fourth practice that transforms everything. Become an active channel of healing for others. Here is a powerful spiritual law. The more you channel healing energy to others, the more you yourself heal. Not because God rewards you for good behavior, but because by opening yourself as a channel for divine energy to flow through you to others, you yourself are bathed by this energy in the process. So develop a daily habit. Upon encountering someone sick, mentally or in a low voice, pray, "May the healing light flow through me to this being. May they remember their true, perfect nature." When passing by a hospital, mentally send a blessing of healing to all there. Upon learning news of illness of acquaintance or stranger, instead of just lamenting, actively pray for their healing. You will become a channel of collective healing, and in this process, your own healing will deepen infinitely. When you finally understand in depth, not just intellectually but experientially, that true health is the natural expression of the awakened soul, something fundamental changes in how you relate to body, disease, and healing. You stop seeing yourself as a passive patient waiting for doctors to fix you. You begin to recognize yourself as an active co-creator of your physical reality, working in partnership with doctors when necessary, but never completely outsourcing your responsibility over your own health. This awakened consciousness transforms the body from heavy burden into sacred instrument of service and joy. You stop living at war against it and begin to treat it as a living temple where the divine chose to temporarily dwell. Each cell becomes a miniature altar. Each heartbeat becomes a silent prayer. Each breath becomes communion with the infinite. And when you live at this level of reverence for the miracle that is being alive in a functional body, something extraordinary happens. Diseases begin to have difficulty establishing themselves because they encounter terrain of elevated consciousness where they have difficulty prospering. A spiritual master asked his disciples, "Why do you think advanced yogis rarely fall seriously ill, even living in simple conditions?" The disciples offered various theories: pure diet, breathing practices, deep meditation. "All of this helps," agreed the master. But the fundamental reason is that they primarily inhabit consciousness of the immortal self, only temporarily visiting the consciousness of the mortal body. And disease cannot touch one who does not identify as body. It's like trying to drown someone who doesn't live in the river. You can throw water at them, but they remain dry because their dwelling is in another dimension. The true medicine is this: elevate your dwelling from bodily identification to spiritual identification. Then the light of divine consciousness vibrates in every atom of your being with such intensity that the darkness called disease simply finds no space to dwell. Live from this elevated understanding. When disease comes, and it will come occasionally because you still inhabit a body subject to natural laws, don't enter into panic or despair. See it as a temporary teacher bringing a specific lesson. Treat it with appropriate external resources when necessary, but simultaneously work on the internal transformation that is the true healing. And as your consciousness expands, as you establish yourself ever more firmly in the remembrance of who you truly are, something magnificent emerges: the natural desire to extend this healing beyond yourself. The healed soul cannot remain selfish. It naturally desires to heal the world. And thus, your personal healing becomes the spark that ignites the flame of collective healing. Become what you were called to be, not victim of disease, but channel of divine healing for a world that suffers precisely because it forgot its truly healthy nature. You are only at the beginning of your journey of transformation as a conscious healer. Everything that has been shared here is not theories for intellectual debate, but truths for lived experimentation. The real alchemy happens when you close your eyes for the first time and dare to declare with total conviction, "I am not this sick body. I am eternal spirit temporarily inhabiting form, and this spirit is perfect health, now and always." Don't just ask to be healed. This keeps you in the position of spiritual beggar awaiting crumbs from a distant God. Ask to awaken, because one who awakens to their true nature never again falls ill in the soul. And when the soul is healthy, radiant, connected with the source, the body has no choice but to reflect this health from within outward. Yes, the body will still go through the natural process of aging and eventually will be returned to the elements from which it came. But you will no longer identify exclusively with it. You will inhabit vaster consciousness that observes the body being born, living, and dying, but that remains eternal, unchanging, eternally healthy in a dimension that transcends all physical disease. This is the final healing, not avoiding the death of the body, but awakening to the life that never dies. Leave your like on this video as a way of saying harsh, yes, I commit to my own conscious healing. Yes, I choose to awaken. Subscribe to this channel to continue receiving teachings that reveal the sacred hidden in the everyday, that transform ancient knowledge into modern practice, that constantly remind you who you truly are beyond body and mind. Share this wisdom with someone who is suffering from disease, that friend who has lost hope, that family member who sees themselves only as victim of cruel genetics, that stranger who perhaps needs to hear exactly this to finally understand that true healing is possible when we begin from within outward. And in the comments, share your truth without fear. What disease is teaching you at this moment? What new understanding has emerged from hearing this? What practice of conscious healing have you been applying? Your honest experience illuminates the path of others who walk this same journey of transformation. Together, we create a field of collective healing, each one awakening in their corner, each one remembering their true nature, each one becoming a beacon of hope for a world that forgot. That divine healing is not the privilege of saints, but the birthright of every human being. May the healing light of the Most High flood every cell of your body in this moment and forever. May you remember daily that you are not this body. You are the eternal consciousness that temporarily inhabits it. May every disease become a loving teacher, bringing lessons that elevate you, never punishment that diminishes you. May your faith be so profound that it moves not only mountains, but also patterns of illness crystallized for decades. May your thoughts create waves of vitality, your words pronounce blessings of health, your acts express reverence for the sacred temple that is your body. May you never again see yourself as victim of genes, luck, or cruel destiny, but as conscious co-creator of your physical reality. May you learn the supreme art of living primarily as soul and only secondarily as body. Then diseases will lose power over you, because they will not find the identification that sustains them. And when your personal healing fully blossoms, don't keep it selfishly, but extend it to all beings, becoming a channel through which the divine energy heals the entire world, one soul at a time.